I don't know about you, but I have been following all the twists and turns in what's gone on since the American elections with glee. I wake up every morning and I go, yes, Donald Trump is the president-elect, and hopefully this will be a turning point in the West. And so I'm really interested to see how he manages to execute leadership as Trump 2.0, because, well, it turns out he's potentially got sweeping powers now. The Republicans have won the House majority, that is the House of Representatives, which means that he should be able to enact his entire legislative agenda. He regained a majority in the Senate, and with the House, it means he will control the country's governing trifecta. He's also, of course, got a majority in the Supreme Court. So not like poor old Maloney over in Italy who doesn't get to do what she wants to do. Trump, in theory, should be able to do the lot of it. What is that going to look like? Let's speak to Peggy Grande, amazing woman, former executive assistant to Ronald Reagan and political appointee in the Trump White House. Peggy, I've got you back on the show again. It's like Christmas come early.
Hi, Alex. So nice to see you. Thank you for having me on. And I feel like you. I'm kind of giddy waking up every morning saying, did this really happen? And I can't wait for the next 4 years to begin.
I can't. Let them begin yesterday. We need them. Let's talk about some of these appointees, because I didn't realise until I read what was said on the BBC, so it might not be true, Peggy. But I didn't realise that the Republicans were kind of as split as our Conservative Party are over here, where you've got the sort of, you know, lefty liberal side of the party and then the real ones. That Matt Gaetz, who's his choice for Attorney General, has actually caused a little bit of concern amongst fellow Republicans. Tell us about him and why people should be or not be worried about this appointment.
Well, Donald Trump has the authority and the opportunity to select people around him who will represent his point of view and his vision for America. And by the way, this is the vision that Americans voted for. 7 out of 10 Americans prior to the election had said that America was on the wrong track. And so Donald Trump does have a sweeping mandate. And so whether it's in the House or the Senate or with his appointments, these are people that he is obligated to the American people to appoint and select people who will deliver on what he promised, which is to right the ship, to turn America around and to put it back on the right footing. And like every political party, there are your factions and your divisions, but you know, Donald Trump has the right and the authority to select people. And he has made some great selections from the top down. Everybody we've heard so far, these are people who are obviously loyal to Donald Trump, as they should be. A lot of them are from the next generation. So I love the fact that he's reaching back and bringing along people who can carry forward his vision and what the American people have voted for, even after his 4 years are up. He has brought on people who are good communicators, who can go on the airwaves and make the case to the American people of why the things that they are doing are so important and so necessary. And a lot of them have very much a fighting spirit, like Donald Trump. And it is going to take a fighting spirit to turn America around. We know that it's easy to slide downhill into decline, and it's really hard to make substantive, positive change. And he's surrounding himself with people who are fighters, they're good communicators, they're part of the next generation, and they're loyal to him and will be loyal to delivering on what Donald Trump promised to deliver for the American people the next 4 years.
Now, I don't really know much about Matt Gaetz, being from this side of the pond. But what I'm reading on the BBC, again, you know, BBC alarm, is that one of the reasons maybe this guy's being controversial is that he's seen as a bit of a wrecking ball. He's very outspoken. But apparently, he's been investigated himself over allegations he violated sex trafficking laws during a trip he took to the Bahamas with paid escorts. The subject of an ongoing ethics investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct, illicit drug use and misuse of campaign funds. Now, if you're going to believe what the BBC have written there, that is quite the rap sheet. Is this essentially lawfare against him, or is he got a bit of a checkered past, but Donald Trump sort of goes, do you know what, if you can do the job, you deserve redemption?
Well, it's my understanding, and I'm not an attorney, it's my understanding that the Department of Justice actually looked into these allegations and charges and decided not to press charges or move forward with any sort of case against him. Now, there was a House Ethics Committee that was convened to look into these charges as well. We know, though, that once this announcement was made that Matt Gaetz resigned from the Congress, and so they will work now to get a new representative from his district in Florida to represent him. So that ethics complaint that was in the House goes away. And again, it's Donald Trump's choice to surround himself with the people that he chooses. There are no ongoing investigations into this, and it's up to the Senate. Matt Gaetz will have to go through the exact same process as all the other nominees that Donald Trump has selected will have to go through. If they need to be Senate confirmed, they will have to go through the questioning of the Senate and will have to be approved or not to actually take on that seat.
And it seems to me that what Trump wants to use Gaetz for is essentially to sort of shake up the justice system. And I think a bit like over here, your justice system in America is being under fire from various Republicans for sort of overstretching a little bit.
Well, the American people have given Donald Trump a very clear mandate. They don't want business as usual. They feel like government has not only grown too large, but it's becoming too intrusive. It's invading their lives in ways that the American people no longer want or never wanted. And it's just become so overbearing. We, the people, tell the government what to do, not the other way around. And the American people have spoken saying we want less government, not more government. And so dropping a Matt Gaetz into that and put some of these other appointees, you know, you've got Lee Zeldin at the EPA, which will be incredible. You've got Tom Homan, who will be the border czar, who will absolutely enforce the border. Marco Rubio going into state. You have the first female ever chief of staff for the White House, Susie Wiles, who has done just an incredible job throughout the campaign and has broken that glass ceiling of something we've never had, a female White House chief of staff. And so Donald Trump has these amazing appointments. Elise Stefanik, who I know we're sorry to lose her in the House, but she will be a tremendous ambassador at the UN and represent America's interests on the world stage and will be such a great representative to us. You know, Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense, Mike Waltz, Kristi Noem, John Ratcliffe. I mean, such great patriots who have been very loyal to Donald Trump and more importantly have been loyal to the America First agenda and will deliver on what Donald Trump has promised. And it's not just one single appointment that we're looking at. We're looking at collectively what this cabinet, what this group of people around him can deliver. And it's going to take everybody pulling in the same direction. I think Donald Trump learned a lot of lessons from his 2016, some of his appointments there. And so he's making very different picks in some ways this time around. And what we see is a group of people who love America and will be true and faithful to the American people and want to be good stewards of their trust and their money. We see what he did with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, putting them in charge of basically auditing the books for the government. And I know that's something that you could probably use there as much as we could use it here. We could cut a lot of things. No services will be harmed. Nobody will even know or miss it. And that's what the American people want. Donald Trump has a 4-year window to deliver on some very big promises. And I think he's going to have the wind at his back for the most part with the House, with the Senate, with the courts, and with the American people primarily at his back saying, yes, we want you to do this. We want to change. And he's the man to deliver on that.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that all of this works because, like you said, some really interesting appointments here. Elon Musk in charge of Doge. I love that. And I watched a video of Tom Homan, who's going to be in charge of things like deportations. My gosh, he's a snarling man, isn't he? But I kind of like that. I like a tough talker. But, you know...
We want somebody at the border who's going to say, no, 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 and people actually turn around. In fact, we see some of these caravans that had been approaching the border once Donald Trump was elected, once Tom Homan was selected as border czar. They thought, we're not going to get through anyway, so we might as well turn around. So I guess Donald Trump is already making America great again, just by having been elected before he even takes office.
Right, the markets are responding kindly. The illegal migrants are turning around in their tracks. I mean, once you're finished with him, can you send him over here? Because we've been putting up a bit of a flare lately, and apparently it's getting noticed. Let's have a little listen to Joe Rogan.
They think the country's going in the wrong direction. They think that this control of social media by the government, which we would have had pretty much fully if it wasn't for Elon buying Twitter, that this is a dangerous precedent to set, whether it's a right-wing government or a left-wing government. And that what you see that's happening in the UK where people are being imprisoned for tweets and Facebook posts. Crazy.
In the UK is the part that's mind-bending about it to me.
Mind-bending. The whole thing is nuts, and it's a dangerous path that we were on. We were on that path. Trump has vowed to have free speech become a very important part of what he's standing for.
Now, that is, of course, the most listened to podcast in the world. Joe Rogan. Some say that credit to Donald Trump going on for 3 hours, and a brilliant interview it was, is to helping him get over the line. But it's not just Joe Rogan, is it, Peggy? You've got Elon Musk constantly now fighting the good fight on our behalf. We had the coppers turn up at the doorstep of a veteran political commentator and columnist, Alison Pearson, at the Telegraph last weekend, and saying that she wrote a nasty tweet and they won't tell her what it is or who reported her, but she's going to be charged with a non-crime hate incident, which just doesn't even, it's not even a thing, but it's really scary. And it's interesting for us back here because sometimes, you know, you kind of think, am I the mad one? Is it really as bad as I think it is out there? I mean, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't look right. All these people being put in prison for social media, something's a bit off here, but then you kind of think that maybe I'm the mad one. Maybe this is okay. Maybe this needed to happen. And so when you got these massive names in America looking at us and going, oh my goodness, the UK is going to hell in a handcart when it comes to free speech. It's both a relief because you realise you're not mad and really scary because you realise we've got a problem over here.
Well, I think this election, as much as anything else, was not right against left, Democrats against Republicans. It was crazy versus common sense. And to your point, there were a lot of people saying, well, I've never voted for a Republican before, but I think my party might have gone crazy. You know, the old Ronald Reagan adage, I didn't leave my party left me. And so people were left feeling like, where did my party go? Where do I belong? And so they found that they had a home with the party of common sense. And my apologies, because as the U.S. goes, so the world goes. And I think we have the U.S. to blame for much of the wokeness, the DEI, some of the crazy stuff that came out of Washington that has infiltrated the rest of the world. You've followed suit. And I apologize for that, but we're going to fix that. And likewise, I do believe that when Donald Trump comes back in, when he institutes these great tax policy, cutting regulations, bringing down inflation, bringing manufacturing and jobs back to the United States, that those things will also help the world. We know that a strong America makes for a safer world. We know that when there is strength on the world stage, that our allies can trust us and our enemies once again fear us. That's what Donald Trump will bring back to the White House. And hopefully he will also bring common sense back to the White House, which will also infiltrate the rest of the world as well. We know that when Ronald Reagan took office, he went to one of his first G7 conferences, and around the table they were talking about the tax cuts he was doing, and everybody was a little bit skeptical. And the next year when he came back and sat around that same table, Chancellor Helmut Kohl of Germany at the time looked at him and said, President Reagan, tell us about the American miracle. Wow. And we look forward to the world gathering in the year or two to come and saying, tell us about the American miracle.
Oh,
and
please,
we think
Peggy, that's what we need.
Donald Trump.
That's what we need. And you know what? Never before has the term leader of the free world meant so much, especially to us Brits. Peggy, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Isn't she wonderful? Peggy Grande, grand by name, grand by nature. She really is a star. I love her to bits.